everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Blue Collar DM, the channel dedicated to breaking down barriers for new players and dungeon masters alike. As always, my name is Howard, and today, by viewer request, we are going to be covering the Rogue class in Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition, the Masters in the Art of Thievery and the Sneak Attack. Without any further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so we're talking about rogues today. Now, rogues are really cool because not only are they very skilled at sneaking around and picking locks and being good thieves, they can also be really skilled assassins, which is also really cool. Now, in order to break down this rogue properly, we're actually going to go over to the computer and we're going to break down a level 1 character sheet just for some of our new players so that way they can get used to playing their rogue at their table. And then we're also going to actually break down the rogues class all the way from level 2 to level 20 back in this format so that way we can have a really good idea of what we have to look forward to as we play our rogue. Now, if you have any questions about the rogue, or anything about Dungeons & Dragons in general, make sure you leave a comment down in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to answer some of those questions. Also, like and subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell because there's a pretty good chance I'm going to answer some of those questions that you put down there in a future video. Now, without any further ado, let's go over to the computer. Alright, so now that we're over here at the computer, we can break down the rogue's level 1 character sheet. So, I already have the character sheet here. But in order to get access to this character sheet, what you want to do is you actually want to come over here to the internet. You're going to go to dnd.wizards.com. You're actually going to come over here to gameplay. You're going to come over here to character sheets. And then you're going to click on, so I can get my mouse to cooperate, you're going to click on this guy right here. It's going to open up a zip file that looks kind of like this. And then I pick the form fillable one because I'm only going to need 1 page. If you need all 3 pages of a form fillable sheet, you can click on this one. Also, you can print this one if you need it. There's a couple other different ones in here, but those are more for, there's some specific game ones, there's other different options, so those are all there for you. But that's all we need today is the 1 form fillable sheet. So here we have Kira. She is a rogue, level 1, and she's a human. Now, the reason why we picked human, kind of like we always have in some of our other character class breakdown videos, and I'll leave a link to the playlist up here, is because we actually are looking to basically give a good overview of the class itself and not have anything kind of interrupt it with, say, if there's a race feature that allows you to get a certain ability. I don't want you guys to get confused by what's a race trait and what's a character trait and what is a character class trait. So that's why we're doing it the way we're doing it. And what human allows us to do is actually just add 1 to all of our ability scores here. Now, I use the standard array, which is a array of the scores 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, and 8 distributed amongst all of our scores here. And I put them in advantageous areas. So I put our 15, which then became a 16 because we have to add +1 everything here because of our human race. Remember, human race, that's very specific. And it allows us to get that 16 dexterity. We have a good intelligence and a good constitution. And there's a reason for that, and there's a reason why, because I'm trying to build this rogue a certain way. So that's why we have the 16 here in dexterity. Now, the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to calculate our hit points. So for a rogue, we actually are going to get a D8 hit die. So 1d8, and we have a total of 1 of them. Now, in order to calculate our hit points, we're actually going to take, at level 1, our highest roll we can get on this D8, which is 8, and then we're going to add our constitution modifier, which is +2, for a total of 10 hit points. Now, after level 1, what we'd actually do is we'd actually roll this D8, add our constitution modifier, and add to our hit point total. So say we rolled a 4, +2, this would then become a 16 for our HP if we rolled a 4 on our D8 when we went to level up. Now, next thing we're going to do is proficiency. So everyone knows proficiency bonus, we always have a +2 proficiency bonus here at level 1, so that's a good thing to keep in mind. Then we're going to come down here and we're actually going to get proficiencies in light armor. For weapons, we're going to get simple weapons, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, and short swords. And then we're also going to get proficiency in thieves tools, if I can make there we go, thieves tools, which is going to be one of our biggest things that we're going to use as a rogue in order to pick locks, open chests, disarm traps. We're going to need those thieves tools. And then we also get this really cool language, is what I'm going to call it, called Thieves' Cant. And what Thieves' Cant allows us to do is, it's similar to Druidic, if you ever watched the Druid video, which I'll leave a link for that video up here as well. Now, what Thieves' Cant allows us to do is actually talk to other thieves in a code, so that way we don't actually alert anyone around us to the fact that we're actually talking in code. And The only other people that can understand it are other people that understand thieves can't. So this could be written symbols. This could be mixed into conversations that we're having. We could appear to be having a normal conversation, but we're actually speaking in code depending on the certain words we use. So that's what thieves can't is. It's a really cool ability, and I like having that. The thief, or just the general rogue class, is a really fun flavor class to play with, because you get to kind of play on two sides of the coin. You're kind of in that neutral gray area as far as what kind of alignment you are, which is kind of cool. Now for saving throws, we're actually going to get proficiency in both dexterity and intelligence saving throws. So that's going to make this dexterity saving throw a +5 and this intelligence saving throw a +4. So we have a really good distribution here. Obviously we have some really good ones. We have a couple here in Constitution, Intelligence, and Wisdom. Our Charisma is still a 0 and our Strength's a -1, but that's not a huge deal. We're not going to use Strength a lot, and Strength saving throws are one of the fewest used in the game, but we might need it at some point, but I'm not too worried about it right now. And then for skills, we get to pick 4. It's a lot. We get to pick a lot more than some of our other classes. And we get to pick from acrobatics, athletics, deception, insight, intimidation, investigation, perception, performance, persuasion, sleight of hand, and stealth. There's a lot. We're actually going to pick investigation, and we're going to pick perception, and then I'm going to also pick sleight of hand and stealth. And the reason for this is because I'm looking to make a rogue that is really good at sneaking around, is a really good thief, and is really good at stealing things. And also, if we want to be able to get the drop on somebody, we're not going to get caught as we're sneaking around. So it's good to have all these things. So we should be able to find things pretty easily with that good perception and that good investigation. But then we're also not going to be detected, because we're going to be able to sneak be able to pickpocket somebody, and we're also going to be able to sneak up on them without them noticing. So that's why I picked those 4 there. Now for equipment, we get to pick. Actually, let me first put in passive perception here first, and this one's going to be a 13. And the reason for that is we actually calculated this based on an average roll of a die, which technically is 10.5, but we round it down for 10. And then we actually add our perception bonus, which for us is a +3, so that's why we get 13. And what passive perception allows us to do is it basically is a number that DMs like to use in order to be able to discern whether or not you actually detect something either sneaking up on you or something happening without them having to ask you for a roll. So it's a really good DM tool. It doesn't really mean too much for us as player characters when we're playing the game ourselves, but for the DMs it's really helpful. So that's why we have that. Now for equipment, we get to pick a couple of different things. Now for equipment, we get to choose between a rapier or a short sword. So I'm going to pick a rapier here. I like rapiers. They're cool. Think of like a fencer or something like that, like thrusting out towards somebody. It's really cool. And then we get to pick a short bow and 20 arrows or another short sword. I'm going to pick the short bow because I'm not looking to dual wield my short sword, which is what I think that the player's handbook is looking to have you do if you pick 2 short swords here in a row. But I'm going to pick the short bow, and I'm going to pick the quiver of 20 arrows. Easy enough. And then we're going to be able to pick from a burglar's pack, a dungeoneer's pack, or an explorer's pack. I'm going to pick burglar's pack just because based on what I'm making right now, it makes a lot of sense. I'm making somebody who's really good at stealing, so that's why we're doing that. And then we automatically get leather armor, 2 daggers, and a set of thieves' tools, which we're going to be using a lot. So it's a good thing we have them already, and we'll be able to utilize them right away. We'll be able to unlock any locked chests, doors, whatever the case may be. Now, in order to finish off the rest of this part, we're actually going to come up here and we're going to put in some of that equipment stuff in our AC and all that kind of stuff. So first we'll come up here and calculate our armor class. So our armor class, normally we would calculate it as a base of 10 plus our dexterity modifier if we're not wearing any armor whatsoever. But because we're wearing leather armor, what leather armor allows us to do is to make that base number 11. So 11 plus 3 makes 14. Our armor class is 14 right off the bat, which is not too bad. It's kind of average for a level 1 character. As you've seen, like with some of the other videos, I've made some characters that have really higher ACs, like 18s and 19s, but for the most part, starting off, 14 is not too bad, especially if we're going to probably be using our short bow more often than not to start, but we'll see how that works out as we play the game. And then our initiative is going to be a +3, and that's going to be derived, +3, and that's going to be derived from our dexterity modifier here. And then our speed is 30 feet because humans move 30 feet. Most humanoid characters in general move 30 feet, so that's why we have that there. And then down here, we're going to put in our rapier. We're going to put in our short bow, bow, and we're going to put in our 2 daggers. I'll just put dagger for now. Our attack bonus is going to be +5 for all these, and the reason for that is because our attack bonus is actually calculated based on an equation of our proficiency modifier, which again was +2, which was up here, plus whatever our attack stat is. Now, typically for melee weapons like the rapier and the dagger, we would use our strength modifier as our attack stat, but these both have the finesse trait to them, and what finesse allows us to do is actually use our dexterity modifier as our attack stat. So now you can see why I put in a lot of points to dexterity, because we're not only going to be using it to sneak around, to pick locks, to do a bunch of other different things, we're also going to be attacking with it. It's a big reason why we want to keep this pretty large, and so that's why we have that 16 there. So 3 + 2 is 5, so we have +5 all the way across the board. Now, for our rapier, we're going to be doing 1d8 damage plus 3 piercing, and that 3 piercing comes from our attack stat, which again is our dexterity, for a +3. Our short bow is going to actually do 1d6 damage plus 3 piercing, and it's going to have a range, so things to keep in mind, of 80 and 320. So what that means is that anything within 80 feet is going to be fine. We're going to roll a normal d20, we're going to add that +5, and we're going to see if we hit something. But if we're going to be attacking at long range, anything under 320 feet but greater than 80 feet, we're going to have to roll a disadvantage. So we're going to roll 2 of those d20s, add our +5, and see if we hit. So the further we are away, the harder it's going to hit things. The harder it's going to be to hit things, but we're going to still have the ability to. But then if we're beyond 320, there's no chance of actually getting a hit. And then our dagger is going to be 1d4 plus 3 piercing again, and plus 3 piercing, there we go. And it's actually also going to have a range of 20, 60. So short range 20, long range 60. So we can throw our dagger if we want to. Probably not going to, just because we have this short bow anyway, but we'll see what happens. And then I don't really need to put anything else here because we don't have any spell casting or anything like that. So we're good there. All right, so we got most everything done. We are going to have to pick a background, so don't forget to pick a background, everyone out there. Remember, pick a background. We're not going to go over that today because it is going to give us some extra proficiencies, and I just want to make sure you guys have a good understanding what the rogue gives you, and that's it. I don't want to get too much into, like I said, the reason why we picked human, because it's really easy to kind of calculate everything out and not have too many weird factors. Same thing with the background. I just want you to know what the rogue gets by itself. And then the next thing that we get some abilities at level 1. So first thing we get at level 1, besides Thieves' Cant, which we already talked about, is going to be expertise. Now, what expertise allows us to do is it actually allows us to choose 2 of our skill proficiencies or our skill proficiency in one of our skills and our Thieves' Tools proficiency, and actually double our proficiency bonus with those items or those skills. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick Thieves' Tools again, because I like the idea of my guy being able to unlock everything, disarm every trap. I want him to be an expert. So we're going to pick our Thieves' Tools proficiency. And basically what that means is our proficiency bonus is ×2. And I'm going to pick our, let's go stealth, because I want to be able to sneak up on things. So we'll go stealth, prof ×2. So what I'm going to do in order to make it so I remind myself of this is that I'm actually going to come over here. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to Thieves' Tools, and I'm just going to put ×2. So if any time my DM asks me to roll a Thieves' Tools check, I'm going to remind myself, oh, I've got to roll my proficiency ×2. And actually, I'll even put proficiency in here ×2, so that way I remember. And then the other thing is that anytime I'm going to roll a stealth check now, my proficiency bonus is doubled. So I'm actually going to come over here to stealth, and I'm actually going to add 2 more. So because our proficiency bonus is 2, 2 × 2 is 4, then we're going to add our 3 from our dex modifier, for a total of 7. So anytime we have to roll a stealth check or anytime we have to roll a Thieves' Tools check, we're going to be rolling +7 to our roll, which is going to be really, really good. Now, let's see here. The next thing we actually get, and this is kind of the big thing that the rogue gets, is actually our sneak attack. Sneak attack. Now, before I forget, for expertise, we do get this again at level 6, where we actually get to pick 2 more. So that's always good to have 2. I'm going to say 2 more at level 6. So we're going to get expertise in 4 skills at level 6. Now we'll go over this again, but I just want to put this here because we actually get this ability does improve as we move on, not just at level 1. Same with sneak attack. Now sneak attack also improves improves as we level. And there is a table in the player's handbook. If you actually come over here, and if I'm actually prepared, and I actually have it on the rogue already, which I didn't, on page 95, you'll actually see that there is a table up here that'll actually show you what your sneak attack is going to be at those different levels. Now, at level 1, it's only going to be 1d6. And basically, what it does for us is allows us to do more damage, which is going to be really good. We're going to roll our damage for our rapier, and we're going to roll our damage for our sneak attack if we have it. Now, we get to use our sneak attack on one attack during our turn, and there's a couple stipulations. We either have to have either A, advantage on our attack, so I'm going to put advantage on our attack, or B, we have an ally within 5 feet or right next to an enemy that isn't incapacitated, and we don't have disadvantage on the roll. So, kind of some weird circumstances there, but basically, generally speaking, if we have advantage on our attack, we're going to get sneak attack. If our ally is within 5 feet and they're still up, they're not down or incapacitated for any reason, and we also don't have disadvantage on the roll, we're going to get sneak attack as well. And again, sneak attack is going to improve as we level up. So it starts out as 1d6, but all the way at level 20, it's going to be 10d6, which is going to be really cool because we're going to be pumping out a lot of damage, and that's part of the reason why rogues are so cool. Now, in order to get advantage, there's a couple different things we can do. Some character races actually get advantage on their attacks if they have allies next to their opponents, so we're going to get advantage anyway. You can actually sneak or hide as a bonus action, which we'll talk about cunning actions later on in the video and what those do. But you can actually hide and then attack, and that'll allow you to get advantage because your opponent won't be able to see you, which, again, pretty cool. Now, as far as everything else for our level 1 rogue, this is actually all we need. Again, we do need a background. Don't forget to pick a background. And we've talked about backgrounds in another video a little bit, just generally for when you're building your character. And I'll leave a link up there for just building your own custom player character. But this is all we really need to start playing. Again, need a background. But other than that, we're all set to go. Now that we're done with this, we're actually going to go back into the camera format, and we're actually going to talk about our rogue from level 2 all the way to level 20. Alright, so now that we're back over here, we can actually go over the rest of the rogue. So now, like I said, for our level 1 abilities, we get that expertise ability, and at level 6, we're going to pick 2 more actual expertise abilities. So we can pick, any of those proficiencies we already have, we can double our proficiency, which is going to be really cool. So I just wanted to mention that, and then also our sneak attack's going to go up as we level up, so make sure we remember that as well. So I will have to go over some of my notes as we're going through this because the rogues, while not too complicated, they have a lot of abilities, so I'm probably going to forget a couple of them as we're going along, so I want to make sure I don't forget for you guys. At level 2, we're actually going to get cunning action. So basically what cunning action allows us to do, it allows us to use our quick thinking and wit because we are a good rogue, to use a bonus action to actually take a couple of different unique actions that are typically using your full action. And those are the dash, disengage, and hide actions. So at level 2, we can start giving ourselves advantage by bonus action hide and then action attack. So that's going to be really helpful. But then we can also disengage and dash around as a bonus action. So if we need to get out of trouble, we need to get away from somebody as quickly as possible so we don't take opportunity attacks, we can take that disengage and run away, which is going to be really helpful. At level 3, we're going to actually pick our roguish archetype. So again, this is kind of like the subclass for the rogue, kind of similar to some of our other videos like the fighter. We had to pick an archetype, and I'll leave a link for that up here as well. Now we're going to have to be able to pick from our thief, assassin, or arcane trickster paths. So basically for my subclass and my roguish archetype, we're going to go with the thief, just so that way I can explain one of them here in this video. Now if you want to look at any of the other ones, they are in your player's handbook, and usually you can find some of this information online, but if you can't, the player's handbook is going to have that information for you. And then at level 4, 8, 10, 12, 16, and 19, we're actually going to get an ability score improvement. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to add 2 to any of our ability scores or add 1 to 2 of our ability scores. So those are going to be really helpful because then we can try and get our dexterity all the way up to 20. If we want to be really good at finding things, we can pump up our wisdom and our intelligence so we can make our perception and investigation scores go up. We can also take a feat at these levels. Now, this is an optional rule that your dungeon master can use if they choose to take feats in their game. And basically, there could be some other things in there that could be very helpful for you depending on how you want to play your character and how you want to role play them. So think about that. If you have feats in your game and they're allowed, take a look at that. If not, ability score improvements are going to be the way to go, obviously. And then at level 5, we're going to get Uncanny Dodge. Now, what Uncanny Dodge allows us to do is that if an attacker that we can see hits us with an attack, we're actually going to be able to take half damage from that attack. So a lot of the rogue kind of flavor abilities allow them to kind of take less damage because they have that ability to be very nimble and quick and kind of get out of the way. So that Uncanny Dodge is going to be really helpful for avoiding some of those direct attacks, especially if they're really big hits, because if you remember, our armor class for our rogue is not very high, and we only can use light armor, so it's not going to improve all that much as we go further on down the line. At level 7, we're going to get Evasion. And what Evasion allows us to do, if we're subjected to anything that makes us take a dexterity saving throw, so whether it be a dragon's breath or whether it be some sort of spell ability like a fireball or something like that, instead of taking full damage on a failed save, we would actually only take half damage. And then if we succeed on that saving throw, which is a pretty good chance because we are going to have a high dexterity saving throw because we're proficient and we have a high dexterity score on our character sheet for our character, we're actually going to take no damage if we succeed on the saving throw at level 7 with that evasion. So it's going to be really, really helpful, and we're going to be able to avoid a lot of damage. Now, again, we're going to be kind of relatively armor class weak, so it's a good thing we have some of these things so we're not getting chipped away by some of those dexterity save type abilities. At level 11, we're going to get Reliable Talent, and a Reliable Talent's a really interesting ability because it allows us to basically, whenever we use a ability check, if we have to do an ability check, let's say if like we're asked to make a stealth check, and that stealth check allows us to use our proficiency bonus. Any skill or roll that we have to make that uses our proficiency bonus, like our Thieves Tools, anything less than a 10 on a d20 roll, so 1 through 9, if we roll a 1 through 9, we get to ignore it, and it becomes a 10. So basically what that means is that no matter what, you're going to be rolling a 10. Even if you roll a natural 1, you're rolling a 10, and then you're going to be adding your proficiency to that roll. So we're always going to be really good at everything, hence Reliable Talent makes sense. At level 14, we're going to get Blind Sense, and what Blind Sense allows us to do is that if we can hear, if we have the ability to hear things, so like there's certain spells that will make you deaf, and those are very unique, but if we can hear, we are still going to be aware of the location of any hidden or invisible creatures that are within 10 feet of us. Kind of crazy, right? It's basically like having echolocation as a rogue, which is really, really cool. And like if there's an invisible ghost or something like that, we're just going to know that he's there 10 feet away from us because we can hear him somehow. It's pretty cool. And then at level 15, we're going to get Slippery Mind. And what Slippery Mind allows us to do is we just get proficiency in wisdom saving throws. So now we're going to be proficient in wisdom, intelligence, and dexterity saving throws. We're going to be really good. And these are important because at level 15, we're going to be dealing with a lot of high-level spellcasters or very, very weird monsters that are going to make us roll these wisdom saves. We're going to need that Slippery Mind ability to be able to get that proficiency. At level 18, we get the Elusive ability. And then what Elusive does is that whenever we're attacked, no attack roll on us can have advantage against us unless we're incapacitated. So there is no way for our opponents to get advantage on their attack rolls. We're always going to be fine. They can only roll straight rolls at every time. They can get advantage on us. Like say if we're knocked prone, they don't get advantage. Doesn't matter. They still can't get it, which is really good. And then at level 20, we're going to get Stroke of Luck. Now, Stroke of Luck, this is our level 20 capstone ability. If we miss an attack, we can make that miss a hit. Ridiculous. Just like the fact that we could just roll a natural 1, miss, and then be like, nah, I hit him. Just kidding, I hit him. It's amazing. Now, alternatively, if we fail an ability check, we can actually change our d20 roll into a 20. So let's say we were trying to pick a lock and we rolled a natural 1. Nope, it's actually a 10 because of our Reliable Talent. Oh, still not enough? It's a 20 plus whatever our proficiency bonus is. That's how crazy this Stroke of Luck ability is. And then when we use this feature, we can only use it once, and then we have to finish either a short or long rest. So we only get one use of it per rest, but we're going to get it back. So there's a possibility we could use it a couple times a day, which is really cool. All right, so that was our base rogue. Now we're actually going to go over our roguish archetype that we picked at level 3, which was the Thief. Now again, we could have picked Assassin, or we could have picked the Arcane Trickster, which the Arcane Trickster gets some spells. The Assassin gets really good damaging abilities, but we chose the Thief because we want to kind of stay in that kind of like vein that we were going through with our player character on the computer there. So at level 3, we're going to get the Fast Hands ability along with when we pick this archetype. And what it allows us to do is that, remember how we got Cunning Action at level 2? Well, now we can actually make a sleight of hand check to use our Thieves Tools to open a door or disarm a trap. Or we can take the Use an Object action as well with this Cunning Action. So the fact that we can do a sleight of hand check, the fact that we can pick a lock or disarm a trap with our thieves tools, or the fact that we can just use an object as a bonus action now is going to be huge. We're going to have the ability to do a lot of things on our turn, and it's going to be really helpful. Let's say we're in a heist situation and time is of the essence, and we really got to pick this lock and grab whatever's in a locked chest. We're going to be able to do it faster than anyone else, which is going to be really good. We're also going to get second story work as well at level 3. And basically what that means is that we're going to have the ability that climbing anything doesn't cost us extra movement. So typically climbing is going to cost us more movement than if we say we have to when we're just walking on the road. Now walking on the road and climbing mean the same to us, which is really, really cool. And then when we take a running jump, again, the running jump is weird. And I've talked about this in other videos, but a running jump, basically, when you take a running jump, you have to run 10 feet and then you leap. And the amount of distance you can cover in that leap is equal to your strength score. Now we can actually increase that number of feet equal to our dexterity modifier. So now we can jump a little bit further, which is going to be really helpful. And then at level 9, we're actually going to get Supreme Sneak. Now, Supreme Sneak is good because it's going to give us advantage on our stealth checks if we move no more than half our speed on our turn. So typically, stealth is going to be used more in a theater of the mind sense, and we're not actually going to be having to stealth during a combat situation. We might still, but typically you're just going to get advantage on all your stealth checks, assuming you move only half speed, which typically you do. So that's going to be great. So Supreme Sneak, great ability. At level 13, we're also going to get the Use Magical Device ability, and basically what this allows us to do is that we can ignore all race, class, level requirements for every magic item. So if there's a certain level you have to be in order to use a magic item, no longer applies to us. Amazing. If you have to be a certain race in order to be able to use a magic item, no longer applies to us. Again, which is amazing. We can use any magic item in the game. It's great. I love it. And then at level 17, we're going to get Thief Reflexes. Now, what these are going to do is it's going to allow us to take 2 turns during a round of combat in our first round of combat, which is kind of insane, but if you break it down with me for a second. So the way this happens is that we roll our initiative as normal, and we still act on our initiative order. Now, let's say if our initiative was an 18. Let's say we rolled and we took our turn on the 18th initiative count. We're going to get a second turn at the 8th initiative count. So basically, we took our first turn at our normal initiative, and then our second turn at our initiative minus 10. So we're going to get 2 turns on our first turn in combat, on the first round of combat, which is great. We're going to act more, and action economy at that high level of the game is going to be really important. We could sneak attack twice in a round. We can do a ton of damage, and at level 17, we're going to have a ton of d6s being thrown in there for a sneak attack. It's going to be great for setting ambushes, and it's going to be really great at taking down unsuspecting enemies, which, again, it's going to be huge at that high level of play. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Rogue class for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition from the Player's Handbook. Now, if you have any questions about rogues or anything about Dungeons & Dragons in general, make sure you leave a comment down in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to answer them. And also, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell for the channel, because there's a pretty good chance I'm going to answer some of your questions in later videos down in the future. Now, again, I hope you learned a lot about rogues today, and if you have any feedback for the channel, make sure you leave a comment down there as well, or on any of my other videos, anything at all. Leave comments. I'll be more than glad to either answer them or take that feedback there. I also have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I've got those social medias. Ask me questions on there. I'd be more than happy to answer them there. And until next time, guys, I'll see y'all soon.